Hello, this is JRChadwick, and I am going to show you how to make a simple spaghetti dinner. The meal will consist of 3 easy-to-prepare items. We'll start off with a light spaghetti sauce. You will need 2 cans of diced tomatoes, some extra virgin olive oil, 4 cloves of diced garlic, half a large yellow onion, or 2 leek whites diced, freshly grated Parmesan cheese, red wine vinegar, 2 tablespoons of butter, or just 1 tablespoon, and half a cup of cream, a few sprigs of fresh oregano, a tablespoon of rosemary, a bay leaf or 2, a cup of halved grape tomatoes, and about a half a pound of spaghetti. First, we need to soften the onion or leek by cooking them on low heat with a tablespoon of butter for about 5 minutes or until translucent. Add the garlic and stir for 1 minute more. Add a tiny amount of the vinegar and stir until it boils off. Some people use sherry or other spirits, however I do not stock alcohol. Then add your canned tomatoes. After you let it simmer on medium for a couple of minutes, add the bay leaf, your oregano, and rosemary. Stir until fragrant. Thicken by adding a handful of your cheese. Add the remaining butter, or even better, the cup of cream, and then turn off the heat. Please remember to remove your bay leaves. Whoops, I forgot to add my grape tomatoes. Put those in before your cream or butter. When your sauce is almost done, prepare a large soup pot with at least 8 cups of water. Add a little olive oil to prevent sticking, and some salt to increase the boiling point of the water. Submerge your spaghetti once the water reaches a rolling boil. This will be easier to accomplish if, unlike mine, your stove does not predate the Richard Nixon administration. Once the pasta has cooked to a desired doneness, strain and rinse off the salt water and pour into your serving bowl. Toss with some olive oil and cheese. Which is easier done with 2 large forks than a serving fork. And finally, toss with your light tomato sauce. The next recipe will be a rich pesto garlic bread. You will need a large loaf of fresh focaccia bread, check a local bakery or a quality supermarket, a package of very soft mozzarella cheese, a quarter cup of toasted pine nuts, and about half a cup of your freshly Parmesan cheese, a quarter cup of extra virgin olive oil, 5 cloves of peeled garlic, half a cup of butter, which is 1 stick, and of course, 1 large bunch of basil. Slice the bread open long ways. Toast or broil the bread halves very briefly at 350 degrees, just long enough to make the top of the bread lightly crispy. The next step is pretty easy. Just mix the rest of the ingredients in the food processor and blend until smooth. You may need to stop and scrape down the sides. If the butter is not room temperature, cut it up first. Then just spread it thickly over the 2 bread halves. Save the extra for later. It keeps for about a week in a sealed container in the refrigerator. Place the bread back in the oven and bake for another 5 minutes, or until the topping just starts to be a little bubbly. The final recipe tonight is breaded chicken parmesan. You'll need about a cup of Italian breadcrumbs, 2 tablespoons dried garlic powder, 1 tablespoon ground black pepper, 2 tablespoons dried rosemary, 1 teaspoon dried thyme, 2 large eggs scrambled with a little bit of water, the extra virgin olive oil and Parmesan cheese again, and of course some chicken parts, in this case thigh fillets. First, mix your seasonings with the breadcrumbs. Take an 8 by 16 inch cake pan and coat with a small amount of oil, and then sprinkle some of the seasoned breadcrumbs on top. Mix about a half to a cup of the Parmesan cheese with the remaining seasoned breadcrumbs. With one hand, coat each chicken thigh in the egg wash, and with the other, coat with the bread and cheese. The mitt you see forming on my left hand is exactly why you use two hands while doing this. After they are all arranged in the pan, sprinkle over the remaining bread-cheese mixture and bake for 25 minutes. Once you're finished, you'll have a fine meal to serve to your friends, or just one friend. And if your meal is done thoughtfully enough, well, I'll leave that to your imagination. I hope I've shown you how easy it is to make a tasty and exciting meal. Get out there and use your oven for something more than ramen noodles. Oh look, there's a cat.